Hello, sweet friends. Welcome to Practical Tarot. Today we're going to look at the eights, and I'm including in this the four suit cards, as well as Strength and the Star card, which is 17, but in numerology does add up to 8. And let's start our journey by looking at the Eight of Wands. The Wands are the fire energy card, so it's the sign of new beginnings, creations, fire, things that are going to spark your imagination. And we have here the 8 wands, which are flying through the sky, and they bring in fast communications, epiphanies, things that strike you very suddenly, very quickly, with a lot of energy. And so we begin the journey here with the 8 of wands, and this is when things can be very quick moving, a lot of energy. This is like public relations, communications with other people, messages that you want to get across. So that is this 8 of wands. And then we move into the 8 of cups. And in the 8 of cups, we have a person who is walking away from 8 cups that presumably have something in them. They're filled. They're not spilled like, say, the 5 of cups. They are all, standing upright. But what you'll notice is there seems to be a cup missing. So a lot of times in the 8 of cups, what we'll find is nothing is really wrong. I mean, none of the cups are spilled. There's no turmoil necessarily, but you may feel like there's something else that you want to explore or that you want to do, or not that this isn't enough, but there's something else that's calling to you in the distance. And it's a time of an eclipse also, which I've always found significant. So I've always liked the fact that there's sort of this little face, sort of almost giving side eye at the person, like, what, everything's so good, why are you leaving? But at the same time, there's almost like an understanding of like, yes, I know you need to go. So this moon being our intuitive nature, like, we know that there is something, even though the sun is there in the background, there is something that is eclipsing our sun, and we know that we need to go off and do something else. And that takes us over into the 8 of swords. And the 8 of swords is, we've arrived at this new destination, but we were surrounded by these swords. And if you'll notice, the swords don't go around in a full circle. This person could technically, or theoretically, remove their binds here. They're not bound very tightly, and just walk away. But in the telling of the 8s, the way that I see it is, this person is feeling very constrained, but it's a mental constraint, with the swords being a mental sign, a mental symbol. And it's something that if this person wanted to wiggle out and get free, they could, but they're sort of blinded, they're sort of in confusion. And so I think of, in the story of the 8s, where this falls is, you've had this epiphany, right? And you've decided, I have this sudden thought, there's something I want to do, I want to communicate to other people, I want to get out, there's more I want to do. And you recognize you can't really stay in your current situation and do everything that you want to do, so you leave. But now you find yourself in this situation where you might feel trapped, or you might feel confused. And a lot of people also interpret this card as, sort of being oppressed, because if you look at, there's this sort of castle up here on a mountaintop, and some interpretations of this card say that, you're being oppressed by, some hidden or some authoritative force out there in the distance somewhere. But it's not really, you're not really oppressed, because you can remove your blindfold, you can wiggle out of your ties here, and you can definitely walk out, because you're not being encircled. You have a place to get free. And this person also is, standing on this sort of muddy ground. I mean, it's not quite the water, and it's not quite the ground, it's just sort of this mush. So I think of the 8 of swords as like a time of confusion, a place of confusion, where you're not really sure which way to go. But you do have the capacity, you do have the ability to find your way and to free yourself. You just might not realize it yet. And so then we move on in the journey to the Eight of Pentacles. And the Eight of Pentacles is solid ground. And you can see sort of here, I like to look at the symbols in the images. And here the person is walking away from water. They're in a very ocean kind of setting. And they're starting to find ground. And then here we've got sort of this muddiness. And here we're not just on the ground. We're on like concrete. We're on a very stable, solid ground. And here you see this person is working very diligently, learning how to create these pentacles, which are symbols of earth and material, and really bringing to life and making material and real the things that, you know, they want to create. Or, you know, you might be working on a project or learning a craft or becoming a tradesman, or you might be putting your time into really perfecting some sort of skill. And another thing that I love about this card is if you look over here, see how the castle is like off in the distance and you're being sort of, you know, pressured by some external force. Here we see this person is on equal ground now. And not only on equal ground, but this person is larger than the building. And sort of the way that I think of this is this person is now contributing to the community. This person is just a few steps away from the community. It's building something that the community can use. So one of the things that I like about the Eight of Pentacles is this idea that you're not only being useful for yourself and learning your skill and your trade and all of that, but you're also very close to a community, and the things that you're doing can benefit them, and vice versa. So we sort of get to the end of this, the minor arcana, and then we go into strength. So we move into strength, and we see here that a person is putting their hands on the mouth of this lion. And the lion is a symbol of your ego and sort of that fieriness. We go back again to this fiery idea of like passion, and you want to be king of the jungle, and you want to have all these things, say what you want to say, and be full of, you know, vigor, and you can see that the mouth is still open. So it's not that she's completely shutting down the ego, but this person is, you know, clothed in white and flowers and has the infinity symbol above, and she symbolizes your empathy and loving kindness, and just this idea of, you know, she's kind of an earth mother. You can kind of tell she's, you know, very I like to think of it as compassionate and caring. And within a person, this means sort of having this part of yourself, which is this, you know, empathetic, sort of maybe softer part of you, taming the ego-driven part of you. So with strength, true strength is not just being the lion, although that is part of it, because here is the lion, and the lion is still has its mouth open and its tongue out, so it's still able to breathe and live. She's not trying to kill the lion, right? So strength is actually about learning how to take this softer, more loving, compassionate side of yourself and taming the ego. And as you can see, like the lion's tail goes between its legs, like showing that it's being submissive. Like your ego is being submissive to your sort of your higher self, your more eternal self, your more spiritual self, your more compassionate self. And that is what true strength is. It's not one or the other. It's the ability to combine both and have them, you know, peacefully coexist. And I love on here the lion with his little tongue sticking out. It's almost like like a cat, you know, giving you a kiss. And so I've always loved that you know, working together in this symbiotic connection between these two parts of themselves, of yourself. This ultimately is within you and your psyche and who you are. learning how to tame the more egoistic parts of yourself with this more compassionate, loving side of you. And then from there we go to the star, which is sort of one octave above. You know, we've got 17, which in numerology, the number 1 represents the individual. The number 7 represents sort of a higher spiritual, power or higher spiritual plane. So when you have the 1 and the 7, the 17, you've got this combination of the individual and the higher self coming together and creating this star, this higher, like the sun that we revolve around, and gives life to everything. And I really see it as a higher octave of the strength card, because you look even at the hands, which have always stood out to me, because you see here you have within yourself learning how to tame your ego and using your hands to really tame your own more animalistic nature. And then you have here the hands being used to water the world, right? So she's giving knowledge to emotional knowledge here, but then there's also material knowledge, and combining the sort of emotion and bringing that and making it manifest in the world and sharing it with others, because this will eventually go into the ocean and be shared with everyone. And one of the things that I've always noticed about this card in particular is, although it's covered up because the YouTube algorithm does not like drawings of naked people, but this figure is actually very androgynous. And if you were to look at the traditional Rider-Waite card, you would notice that even though there are breasts on this figure, it does seem like a very androgynous figure, at least in my view. Just showing just sort of that unity, that human unity of just of everything, and just sort of this being a light in the world. And another meaning of this card is like celebrities, or like actual stars, because they're people that you may look up to, or people that may embody some sort of special energy, or there's something about them that's very attractive, and not in the physical sense necessarily, but just very energetically attractive. Like you're very pulled to them for some reason. They may have a lot of things to share with humanity, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like a celebrity, but just someone who is, I think we all know at least one person in our life at some point who just has that magnetic, energetic positivity that you just think, oh, that person is so nice to be around, that person is so giving and caring, and just a good example of what it is to be kind and loving in the world. And so when we look at the 8s overall, in numerology, 8 is sort of success and worldly success and being successful in a material way. But it can also be, it doesn't necessarily have to be money, because in a material way can also mean, you are arriving in the world completely as yourself and going through this journey of self-individuation, where you are, struck with the spark of something that you want to do or be, and you go off on an adventure to become that thing. And along the way you do have these sort of roadblocks where maybe you have confusion, or you're not sure if you can do it, and you have self-doubt, and you have to come to the realization that you do have the power to get past that, and to do more, and to be more, and to finally master whatever skills that you are here to learn. And it doesn't necessarily have to be job related, but there is some skill set that you are working on and you are perfecting. And then from there you learn how to internally, in a very big picture way, merge the different parts of yourself and become a whole person, a person of strength. And then from there you can lead others and guide others and be a light in the world. And this has within it the entire, it's not a completion, but it's sort of that stage of where you're at, where, you know, you're becoming who you're meant to be, and you're sharing that, you're learning to share that with others. So the eights, in my opinion, are very much about becoming who you're meant to be and sharing that wisdom and that gift with others. So this is my lesson on the eights, and I hope that you have enjoyed it. And if you would like to learn more about different numbers, or if you'd like to see specific teachings on particular cards, please let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching.